Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Nalvia Kunia. Today, I would like to present my presentation from a journal, and the title is Problems and Activities in Listening Skills in EFL Classroom from Tradition to More Comprehensible Input. Alright, I've divided my presentation into four sections. The first is introduction, the second is problem formulation, the third is discussion, and the last is conclusion. Alright, I would like to continue. The first section is introduction. Listening is one of the four language skills next to speaking, reading, and writing. Good listening skills are of critical importance in daily, relational, educational, and industrial life. In order to be successful in listening, learners should come up with some strategies such as taking notes during listenings, making practice, or having methods for feeling themselves relaxed during listening. That's why when there is a problem in listening, it might seem hard to find out as there are a lot of factors which can easily affect the performance of listening. When listening skill has been the issue, there are certainly some difficulties in listening. The first is that people cannot communicate face to face unless the two types of skills, listening or speaking, are developed in tandem. And people cannot practice listening in the same way as they can rehearse speaking, or at least the part of speaking that has to do with pronunciation. Why? Because the listeners cannot predict the communication. Right? The second section is problem formulation. In problems formulation from a journal, only one problem formulation. That is how to teach listening. So, I would like to tell you how to teach listening from a journal. Alright. The third section is discussion. Before I tell you about how to teach listening, I would like to tell you what is listening or definition of listening and um, problems in listening. Alright, first is definition of listening. Listening is the active process of receiving and responding to spoken and sometimes unspoken message. It is one of the subjects studied in the field of language art and in the disciplines of conversation analysis. Next is problem in listening. Listening is an inseparable skill of listening second language without doubt. Talk, it is very significant that the problems about listening have newly started to be examined. In order to have success in listening, problem about listening in second language should be firstly identified. So, according to Underwood 1989, organized the major problem as follows. First is the listener's limited vocabulary. The second, failure to recognize the signals. The third is problems of interpretation. Fourth is inability to concentrate, and the last is establish learning habits. If the problem are categories in general heading, then we can say the first problem might be considered to belong to problem based on speakers at first, but as an easy and suitable listening activity is a question matching with the levels of students, it's better to categorize it within the problem based on learner. And the second problem is a problem again based on learners on strategies. The third one is categories in psychological problems based on learners. And the last or the fourth one is categorized within phonological problems in listening. Alright. Uh, that's all the problem in listening. So I would like to tell you how to teach listening. For language teacher, the main problem is either not to know what to do with the listening skill or absolute obedience to the course book they have selected. If they cannot adopt, edit, or change listening activities for their learner, the listening skill become the main anxiety source for them, and instead of supporting the learners with a kind of comprehensible input, it might become the reason for learners' discouragement. The solution of making listening skills digestible for learners in two ways. First, at word level, and the second at sentence level. Alright, I would like to tell you at word level first. In the early stage, the students need practice in hearing and saying the sounds of isolated words as they are ideally pronounced by a native speaker without the distortion or blurs which commonly occur within the context of natural speech. The exercise types, those early level pupils can be given a repetition which they are only expected to repeat what they hear, or asking if what they hear is English or not, and to decide if they hear the same of different utterance. The second is at sentence level. At sentence level, recognizing colloquial and spontaneous speech become easier for learners. So the exercise steps at this level are again repetition, but this time the length of the utterance is either the phrase or sentence they have heard, identifying word division which they are to determine the spoken and the written form of the utterance, identify the stressed or unstressed word are in the sentence, and dictation which the teacher seeks for students understanding the sounds and utterance. Alright, the third type is meaning based activity. You are 1984 divided the comprehension exercises into different purpose based activities in listening comprehension. Okay, they are the first is listening and making no response. This exercise may also be called no response exercises, and they are used to enrich the learner's listening comprehension skills as much as possible. The exercise types in this group may be first is following a written text. In this exercise, where students both read and listen to the text to see how words are pronounced or have the chance to see the actual listening and hearing of a native speaker. Next, pictures. Pictures. The learners listen to the teacher or recording and choose the picture or order the picture as they are mentioned. The next is diagram or maps. Uh, and the last is stories, films, and TV program. They may be used as no response activities if they are not too long to make the students feel bored or lost concentration. So they can use stories, films, and TV program uh, if the teacher are not too long to make the students feel bored or lost concentration. And the second is listening and making short response. This exercise are played using the short responses of learners whose levels are elementary or not enough for full communication. This exercise helps the learners to make the connection between speaking and listening and link the two skills by both listening and responding. This exercise, which can be performed during the listening course, may be true or false exercise. Alright, the third activities is listening and making long responses. In this type of exercises, learners are expected to relate to the general sense of a whole sequence of utterance. There are three. The first is predication. These predications, students are asked to guess the meaning or to guess what is going to happen next. The second is filling gaps. This exercise may be done by filling the gaps in a dialogue or text during the listening activities. And the last is summarizing. In these activities, learners are asked to summarize what they have understood from the listening. Alright, the last activities is listening as a basic for study and discussion. The first exercise types in these activities is problem solving, where the students discuss the listening activity individually or in groups. The text is short and students are given the chance to listen two or more times to be able to discuss the problem mentioned in the listening text. The second one is jigsaw listening. In this, the students are given half parts of the whole listening activity, and after listening, they join together and come to a conclusion or catch the general idea of the activity. In this listening activity, the learners need more than one tape recorder and casters, or another solution may be taking the students into the listening activity group by group. Uh, After one group listening, the other comes in, and while they are listening, the first group is outside the class. Alright, the third one is commonly used exercise type, involving complementary text where the students complete some information on a card or in a dialogue. The last one is interpretative listening. In which the students try to make some interpretations about the speaker's personalities, their relationship. The next section is conclusion. Alright, in conclusion, many problems occur in listening skills, such as not understanding what the speaker is talking about, lack of vocabulary, uh, lack of control over the speed at which the speaker is talking, inability to concentrate, and many more. In this case, we as students must practice a lot of listening or working on questions about listening. Um, and then the teacher can invite the learners to do some activities like listening and making no response, listening and making short response, listening and making response, and then listening as a basic for study and discussion in the class, right? I think that's all about my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.